Lupine About podcast, and I'm Alicia, also known as AK47. And you can find me also on Instagram as lupinehook. This is a knitting podcast, and I've dabbled in some sewing, which I have some finished pieces to show you today in that. I don't have much of finished things to show you in knitwear because we've been spending a lot of time outside climbing and inside climbing because we take the month of September off and we do a solid month of climbing. So we try to get in shape before that, and so we've been doing that for the last month, where we do some intense endurance stuff while we're indoor, and then on Sean's weekend, which is Wednesday and Thursday usually, we go outside if the weather is good. And lately the weather has been pretty cool, well, cool enough to go outside and look for shady spots. Usually in July and August, you are very unlucky to be outside, but this year has been kind of delightful. We'll have a few days of really hot, and then it'll cool off for a few days, and sometimes that lines up with the weekend and sometimes it doesn't. But we've gotten pretty lucky, and we're planning on going a couple of times this week outside. Sean, I don't know if I've shared that before. Sean and I both have had really bad falls on rope, and so lately, as in the last 10 years, we've been bouldering mostly, which requires no ropes, no protection in the wall. It's just climbing on big rocks with a crash pad below, and you just have a chalk bag and some shoes. Well, lately, I guess we went once last year, and Sean sprained an ankle on our way back. And so we only got one day in last year on ropes, but this year we're really trying to face the fears and get back into the head game, which is climbing on ropes. And thankfully, this time around, Sean's head is in the game, which is awesome. It's just been a really positive experience this year. So far, his fears are keeping him on lower grades, which I can still do, and so I can clean up behind him. If he doesn't reach the top, I can go back and clean up the pieces of pro that he's left up in the rock, which has been fine. But I think there is going to be a time where he tries some line that I don't want to do, and I'm hoping that we don't leave any gear behind. If you don't climb, this probably doesn't mean anything to you, but there are some climbers that may watch this program. So I just thought I'd let you know that we are going out and about outside. It's about 40 miles from the house, so it's been really lovely just being able to climb more locally. Bouldering near us isn't very close. We usually have to go into the heart of the Cascades, which is 2.5, 3 hours, or go up to Squamish, which is about 4-hour drive. So it's kind of nice getting back into ropes because there are crags for rope climbing that are so much closer than the boulders. So anyway, you guys probably watch this for the knitting, so I can get into that. There's a couple things behind me that you can see. I finished the shawl, which is the Codicus shawl. And I can show it to you in half because it's got, as I was showing you last time, I did a little steek band. So there's 5 stitches in here between the start of the shawl, so that I could do color work in the round. Makes it a little bit easier. And then the last one is really tiny. I think it was only 10 rows or something like that. I should have taken it with me last week when I went to a sewing machine, which I did not, so that I could actually finish those steeks. I was thinking about doing crochet, and then the more and more I watched steeking videos online, I found that they talked about your yarn content to be pure wool, not superwash. And I actually have a lot of superwash yarn in this shawl. So part of me is a little concerned that maybe the crochet technique isn't going to keep as well as I would want. I could be wrong. Please don't quote me on this. I am no kind of professional when it comes to steeking. I've done it once. I did a crochet style once, but I think this time I'm going to get brave and try it on the sewing machine. So I thought I could go through the colorways now. So the purple in the stockinette section here and the second stockinette section there is Miss Fisher's Pearl Handled Pistol. That's from Miss Franny Fisher's Mysteries. If you haven't watched it, I guarantee you it's awesome. It's set in, I want to say, the late 20s, and she's a female detective, which really isn't a thing at that point, and she kind of gets on the nerve of the lead detective that is in the police force. But she's really good at figuring things out, and they figure out things together. At first, he's not keen on it, but in the end, they start having a nice little team action going on. So that is inspired by that mystery, that BBC Mysteries. I think it's based out of Australia, but I think you can find it on the BBC. Anyway, so that's the purple. The green is Ballard by Suburban Stitcher. The blue is a number that's coming up on the screen, and that's Debbie Bliss Rialto DK. This is all DK weight. It went so fast. It went so fast for a couple reasons. Because you have the smallest of sections to knit before you get to your first color work, and then the color work is just exciting and fun, so that goes fast. And true color work. So originally intended, it's 2 colors that you're working with on a row, right? So there's not 3 colors going on in a single row, which is awesome. When you get down to the second piece of color work, this increase section goes really fast. I was watching TV, we were watching Castle, and now we finished the series, and it helped a lot to get through the stockinette, boring stockinette sections. And then the teal is Finny Ridge by Hazel Knits, and that's in her cadence base, so that one is actually worsted. So it might look a little bumpy because it is a different weight than the rest of the DK weight throughout. The speckled is also Suburban Stitcher, and that's Floral Bouquet. There's some pops, sorry, that just washed out because it caught the white. It has pops of mauve and purple and gray. There we go. It's really pretty. It repeats the same blue from above, which is Debbie Bliss Rialto DK. And then I did do a row of 3 colors because I noticed that the green and the teal were just playing so well together that I wanted to incorporate the teal in this third section of color work. And it's so beautiful. So that's Ballard again from up top, Suburban Stitcher, and the cadence in that teal. There is one row where I was carrying the light blue, the green, and the teal together. And you probably want to see my floats. That's why we do this, right? So you can see all the knitting. Pretty happy with it. There are some long floats in there, but it's gonna be mine, I'm pretty sure. And maybe that'll make me keep it because there are some long floats in there. And the first bit of color work is, I'm very pleased with that bit of color work. Nice, beautiful floats. I do my carries so that one is always under and one is always over. It has been used in the past to regulate your tension, but I don't think I have tension issues, but I just like doing a consistent, this is the one I carry under and this is the one I carry over, just so that I don't twist my yarn up. So yeah, beautiful color work. It's beautiful on both sides. It is intended to be, you know, showing the stockinette section, but I figured I did all the work on the floats, you might as well take a look at it. And so that needs to be blocked, needs to be washed, but I'm going to do that after I do the steeks. So I will show that again as a finished object next time. The other thing I've been working on is my thesis, which is the 10-stitch blanket by Frankie Brown. I have it in a triangle right now. Makes me pretty happy to see it like this. It is going by so wonderful now. I think I got past hoping it'll be done and just enjoying the knit for what it is. As you know, if you've been watching at all, I got a box from Kimmy Ann 93 last year, right after the Knit Along with O-Loops. And she was on my team, Ravenclaw, and she sent me a box of all these like leftovers, and I sent her a swap of leftovers. Well, in the box, she sent a little bag, little Ziploc, and it was full of just wound balls, and they were unknowns. It was unknown base, unknown colorway. It's the smallest bits. She said they were like 3 to 5 grams each. And I thought, well, they're a variety of colors, so I could just have fun with it, and they'll go really quick. It'll be like self-striping because you're only going to make like this much in your blanket at a time. So let me find where I was. So the first of her little bitty minis is this green, and it's got flecks of brown and a light blue. It's catching it really well. And I figure there's some blue in the rows below that it could pop maybe if I placed it there. This one's kind of like a circus kind of colorway to me. There's a light navy blue, red, orange, brown, and some light blue again. The same light blue you saw in the green. Now I was coming into a dark space, so I decided to lighten it up with the sky. Yellows, browns, pinks, and then into this just cream. It's just a solid cream in there, and I thought, that's perfect. If you look at the moments before this white was introduced, it was pretty dark in that corner, so that should brighten it up. And then, gosh, this one is beautiful. It's kind of a greenish blue. It's not reading well there, but oh man, just a pop of charcoal and yellow in the blues in there. And then this autumnal color. I got really happy with this guy. And I thought it would bring out this colorway from a couple rows below. And it picks up on the brown from Dean Thomas down here. So that was my mission, was just to bring up pops of color from rows below or lighten up the dark sections. So that one kind of looks like a lollipop. It's got purple in there, some gold, red, some turquoise on a cream base. So it's a bit of a speckle. I got a bit of solid green in there. It has flecks of brown. It's really pretty. It's like a foresty green. This one kind of makes me feel like Christmas. I don't know, there's some green in it, but there's that turquoise, cream, and red. It's almost like a gingerbread house. I think that's what it reminds me of. And just kind of just bringing out the cream from this guy a couple rows below. And then the corner, I just made it around the corner on this guy. Just some yellows. There's a good bit of yellows and greens in this, the little stash she sent me. This one is from a swap I did at Christmas 2 years ago. Isn't that awesome? It really picks up on this green. And then there's a green way down here that it's picking up on too. So So I'm finally getting into that phase where I don't have to kind of balance the colors anymore because there's enough colors in every part of this now that it's bigger that I can just kind of match up some things that I see below or how that goes. I had the smallest bit. This was a mini skein that I used for Bindu's little cup cozy that I made in Seattle, made for the Seattle retreat. So it's like a deep mauve, I guess. Ooh, I got another one. This one reminds me of another Crafty Girl, this colorway, which I had a good section of another Crafty Girl right in here. That's all her, and that is too. I got a couple rounds of her minis. She had a mini skein that was 7 different minis, and I think it was like 70 grams or something total. And so I just, early on in this, I got a couple rounds of her stuff in there. But that colorway really reminds me of it, and the yarn does too, the yarn base. And this guy might be my favorite, because you guys all know how much I love blue and purple and teal. Yeah, that catches it really well. And this was a fun colorway. I wish I knew what that one was, because that one's really pretty. It's got turquoise, and I think that's the kind of blue that Sean really likes. Pink, yellow, and some charcoal. And then I just finished the last one in the bag. It's orange, teal, light blue, and cream, and then flecks of brown in there. So that one I was trying to get this guy to pop. I think that worked. So I got to my third corner in all that little bag of goodness. So I think it's starting to get more fun because it feels less planned and more spontaneous, which has become very fun for me. So, still happy with that. Still not nearly where it needs to be, but that's fine. I'm feeling a bit scattered on this, but maybe I have organized it by the time you've watched it. I don't know. So the next thing is my lab work. This is the Poncho by Thea Coleman. It's the Pike Stout, and I'm using Cascade 220 in a deep charcoal. I really like it. This colorway is amazing. I've tried it on a couple times. So last time you saw, I had finished the increases, and the book says to knit straight to whatever length you need to get so that you get past your elbows. At the time that I recorded last time, the sweater hit me about here. So I had a little bit to go to get past my elbow. It says you need to be past your elbow and past your waist. So I thought, I'll try 10 more rows. I'll measure it, try it on again, see where it falls, see how it goes. So that's adding 2 more inches to the intended pattern. So at the time where you would break for sleeves, as I was thinking, you are actually about to do 4 quadrants. You're going to do a sleeve, a back panel, a sleeve, and then your front panel. The sleeves are exactly the same, the front and back panels are exactly the same, but they're going to be done separately, because there's going to be a scoop in front and a scoop in back for your front and back panels. And there's also going to be some sewing involved, so I wasn't ready for that. But I'm going to show you what happened since I saw you last. And I think I have a marker. There it is. I have a marker in there. So at the marker, that was before I did the 2 more inches before I broke for sleeves. So I broke for sleeves there. And then I got a sleeve done. there were some modifications. So in the pattern it says if you're going to modify the length of your sleeve or modify the length of your front panel, I did that too, you're going to want to adjust in certain locations. For the sleeve, you're going to adjust in the length of this ribbing. So as you can see, you have some increasing to do. Well, you have some stockinette to do before you get to the ribbing. This stockinette is going to be consistent no matter what size, no matter what, right? For your size, this part stays the same. What you would adjust is just the length of the ribbing. I, in fact, had to increase the length of the ribbing 3 more inches for the length of my arms. It's key that you do that because this section right here, the stockinette section that you did at the end of your sleeve, in the middle of your sleeve, is going to be sewn to what you're doing for your front and back panel. So that has to be consistent. Now, where you would make increases for your front panel would be in your short rows. So increase as many short rows as you want. It will not affect what you're going to sew in the end to your sleeve, right? Because that's mostly the ribbing and the 2 or 3 rows that you're going to do before you start the short rows. Like, those are accounted for. You cannot increase this ribbing, and right? So do not increase on the ribbing for your front and back panel. If you want to increase length for front and back panel, you're going to have to increase your short rows that happen before the ribbing. Okay? Part of me was thinking, okay, I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't get it. If I adjust the short rows, am I going to have to adjust something on the sleeve? No. I love to modify, but I decided, you know what? I'm not sure what that means. Like, it hasn't computed in my brain about the short row adjustments. Yeah, you can adjust as many short rows as you want. You can shorten the short rows, right? You can remove or add any short rows in this in order to accommodate the length you want in the front and back panel. I didn't understand it, but they said you were going to be adding 9.5 inches or something in this section, and I thought, I'm just going to measure it from where I am before I dropped the sleeves, and is 9.5 inches long enough in front and back? Yes. Okay, so I don't have to adjust this at all. I've made my adjustments before now, so I'm good. The only thing I had to adjust was the length of my sleeve, which was the ribbing part of the sleeve. So I'm pretty stoked with what's going on. I've tried it on since I finished that front panel. So that's the finished front panel. And my sleeve. And I'm in the middle of the short rows right now on my back panel. I'm so excited. And then I have a sleeve to do too. And then I'll be finished. I feel like I could be finished this week. I'm not big on sewing, but I will say I'm not looking forward to that. But I was kind of avoiding this with a blanket knitting, right? I own it. I was avoiding because at the point where I dropped for the sleeve and front and back scoop sections, I had 2.5 skeins. 2 full skeins, so 200 grams, and 46 grams of my third skein. And I was thinking, okay, let's hope that 46 grams gets through a sleeve. Cool, it only took 30 grams. Even with my extra 3 inches, it only took 30 grams to do the sleeve part of my poncho. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to start the scoop section, one of the scoop sections, with a fresh skein of yarn, and we'll see how far it goes, because at that point I will have a skein of yarn for the front, a skein of yarn for the back, and then hope that I would have some leftovers that's at least 20 grams so that I can combine it with my 15 grams that I had left over for my third skein after the sleeve was done. So I was in that moment where, man, I really hope that it doesn't take a full skein of yarn to do the front and back, that like the front section scoop. I made it. I had 40 grams left over from my full skein when I finished that front panel. And knowing that the back panel is exactly the same thing, I thought, I might have 50 grams left at the end of this whole shebang, and I wasn't really playing chicken, but there was a moment where I'm gonna know whether I'm gonna run out of yarn. And so I was avoiding it. And I did a lot of blanket knitting. So yeah, we all have those doubts and we all have those worries, and it was real this week for me. And I just told myself, let's just start, let's find out. I'll never know, and I'll just have this anxiety hanging over me over something that I could find out in 2.5 days of knitting. So I finally did it. And I'm pleased to note that I have enough yarn. Woohoo! I started with 6 skeins of Cascade 220 for this poncho. And I'm going to finish it with 5.5 skeins, I'm thinking. And it's not going to look short, and I'm not going to have short sleeves. It's going to fit. I'm very excited. So that was the only thing I worked on outside of my blanket and my finished shawl. No, that's kind of weird. I'm kind of not monogamous on things right now. I did go to my parents' house to visit my sewing machine. Well, not my sewing machine, but my mother's sewing machine. And the last we spoke about the quilt I'm working on, which is My Kind of Town, was that I got a Union Jack for my flag, and I'm happy to note that I got my Hawaiian flag done. I forgot to bring the block home with me so I could show you. So I'm showing you a picture. I did have to adjust the stripes a little bit so that I could get all 8 stripes in there. You didn't need to do it, right? They didn't have 13 stripes for an American flag. They just had something that, you know, would nod to the American flag. I think it had 6 stripes, so I added 2 stripes. Well, one of the stripes I was able to find a red and a blue next to each other in a fabric, and so I used that for a stripe. And then the last stripe I cut in half, or the last 2 stripes I kind of adjusted where I would sew so that I could get all 8 stripes in. So that was a happy note. And then the next, this current block, so that was the schoolhouse block, it's complete. This is the storefront block, and this is the 6th block I've completed. I'm not happy with it, and I think it's just because there's not a lot of white space. And I didn't do a good job of trying to incorporate some white space with maybe some less dramatic fabric pieces. But it is what it is. It's done. I wanted to make a surf shop for sure. And I also wanted to make a lay shop in the end. So I made a lay stand, which is that guy. The brown one is my lay stand. And you can see that. The fabric in the window is Miley Lays. And I want to say that's Pua Kine Kine, but I've never seen a lei made out of that. So it could be crown flower, but it doesn't look like crown flower either. Crown flower is light purple. I think there's white ones too, but that's where monarch butterflies lay their eggs on the underside of their leaves, and yeah, so they kind of nest. Can you say butterflies nest? Anyway, they make their stuff, or they lay their eggs on the crown flower of leaves. But they're a very sturdy flower. They're pretty amazing. And then there's lays in this blue fabric. And then big floral print that wasn't going to be seen all that much very clearly in this unless it was a billboard. So on the billboard I put flowers for the lay shop. And this brown fabric that you see in the shop, that was used as table runners at my wedding and my brother's wedding. So that was kind of a nice nod to get that into the quilts. And then this is my surf shop. I have a nod to the original surfboards that are about 30 feet long and pure wood. So they get waterlogged and they are heavy to pull around. And then I have the composite boards, foam and composite boards up here. So a little nod to the old stuff and the new stuff. And I love the fabric. This light blue on blue. That one's gotta be my favorite fabric. And then I got the sidewalk in on the bottom, which wraps all the way around both shops. And I have a bunch of paper falling off back there. So yeah, it just doesn't have a lot of white space. And I wasn't sure what these things outside of the sidewalk were supposed to be, so I just put in green fabric. Maybe they were supposed to be the road. I don't know. So I just put in green fabric. I don't know, it just feels really busy. It's gonna be at the bottom of the quilt, so it's not gonna be a prominent feature, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's just a lot of, it is what it is. And the fabric that says Hawaii right here, that's the same fabric that I did for the mug rugs that I made for everybody for the Kentucky trip that said Aloha on the back. That fabric also had a little section that said Hawaii on it too. So yeah, this was a fun square because it has a lot of things that mean a lot to me on it. Yeah. So I'm super stoked with that it's done. I have 2 more blocks in this quilt. The next one is going to be a tall house, and I think it's gonna be purple. I tried to incorporate purple in this one, and it just wasn't jiving. Like, everything that I thought was going to happen in this block didn't really turn out as I intended. So not that I don't like it, it just didn't go as planned. So I think that's what's wrapped into me not really stoked on this one, because I visualized something and then I didn't feel like I achieved it. But when it's done and all pieced together, I think I'm gonna be super pleased with that particular block. But I think it just, I think I need to frame it in more white space. Yeah, and I think when it's attached to other things, I think I'll be more in love with it. Anyway, there's 2 more blocks for that, and then I have to think about sashing. Well, in the last month, I signed up for a swap, and I kind of mentioned it last time when I showed you some fabric, and I wanted to show you that I made my test run of these wonky stars. Now, this has to be much bigger, at least 3 times bigger. But for now, I will show you the tiniest little practice star that I made. So this is a wonky star. And this one isn't really balanced. So the intersection, the cross in the middle, isn't the same dimension as the 4 outside squares. It can be. You're really allowed to do whatever you want in these. But I really liked the narrow field for the legs of the star. So the center one is brown and it has a rainbow in it. And in that rainbow, I took out all the colors that I saw in the rainbow and I put it into the legs of the star. I really love it. Now there is some puckering on this guy. And it could be that this aloha print that's white on white is really thin. That isn't sturdy. So I think I'm gonna. I wasn't planning on using these white pieces of fabric in my swap partner squares. So I can avoid using that thin fabric for the rest of them. But I think that's where my puckering problem came into play, was the difference between, I feel like I feel like that's not cotton, like 100% cotton. The aloha print ones. And this is super sturdy next to it, so it's really floppy. So I'm hoping that it was just two materials that shouldn't have been sewn together, and that's making it a bit wonky as far as puckering goes. But it went surprisingly well. I did have to take out 2 of the points and try it again because my brain just wasn't getting how to line up the 2 pieces of fabric to make those triangles. I bet if you're a quilter, you know what I'm talking about. But I did have to back out 2 of them. But in the end, that went surprisingly well for my first pieced thing for a quilt. Because what I did not know is that this paper that you use on the back of foundation paper piecing is really sturdy. So much so that you don't get a lot of puckering between your fabrics in that. I mean, I have had some moments where there has been puckering. Don't get me wrong. I know, I'm aware of them. But the paper really gives you a stable foundation for your seams. I realized that when I did this, and I thought, wow, I've kind of been cheating, and life has been really easy. Quilt life has been super easy doing foundation paper piecing. So I have to slow down, and I mean, I still am on the slowest that my machine can go as far as the sewing machine doing its thing. So I wasn't trying to speed up the foot or anything. But yeah, I need to slow my roll, be very concise with what I'm doing. I really love it. So I'm going over to my parents' house tonight, and I'm going to get at least 4 wonky stars done for the 12 that are due at the end of August. And maybe I'll get on some kind of roll and do more than that. I'm hoping so. I really enjoyed making that tiny one. But this is barely a 4-inch block. So it has to be, you know, this big. So hope maybe by using bigger pieces, it'll come out better. I don't know. So I haven't decided if I'm keeping this or if I'm making this like one of the bottom quadrants of a big block. I thought that might be cute. But I don't know. I'm not happy with the puckering that was involved. And then I thought, well, this is my first pieced thing that I've made myself, so maybe I should just make it for me and add it to the 12 that are coming to my house. I'll have my lucky number 13 of my own to add. So I have some decisions to make. And I'm very inspired by everybody else who's doing these wonky stars. Oh my gosh, these people are a talent. It's amazing. So I'm super stoked. I have one person that has shown me what one of my blocks is going to look like. And she used every single color that I love, which is purple and teal and navy blue. Love it. She's like, I know you're a pink hater, so I tried my best not to put any pink in here. So it was awesome. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share those with you. So I'm going to try to share, see, I have to get these done in some kind of fashion because I want to show you guys before I send them off. So yeah, I do need to get motivated. Speaking of swaps, I'm now really into looking for swaps for sewing because it's so much fun. So I found another one, and it's called the Swap It. And a Wop It is this little bag, this little bucket bag, and it has a handle. It's the cutest thing, and it looks like it would be a great size for a sock bag. So I'm gonna go try to make one, and the signups are on the 10th, so I needed to do it today before the 10th came, and I signed up for something that I couldn't accomplish. So I'm going today to do stars and this little Wop It bucket bag, and maybe if you guys want to join a swap. So this swap is going to be tailored to your one partner. So everybody's going to get a partner, and then the bag that you're making, picture bag here, is going to be everything that your swap partner would enjoy, right? So you're gonna stalk them a little bit on Instagram, see what they love, see what they're into, make this bag however you want for your partner, and then you're going to give them something of yourself. So you're gonna send them a fat quarter of a material that's so you. So the bag is so them, and the fat quarter is so you, and then you can also fill the rest of the bag with candies and little things that you want to send to a swap partner. So if you're interested in making a little bag, because some of you sew, I know you do. I told Annetta told Kim, maybe Lindsay was in the car when this all went down too. So I am looking forward to another swap. That will be a September make, and it will be in the mail early October. I'm thinking by the 1st of October. The signups are August 10th, and it's on Instagram, and I've probably put somewhere down here who is hosting it, so you can keep an eye on it. It is the author of the Wop It bag will be the host to the Wop It Swap It. And I think there's going to be a secondary host too, and I can't think of her name right now. And I think it's one of her sewing testers. Yeah, so I'm excited. I am really into this swap thing. Ever since we did Knitmas last year, I'm kind of addicted to this swap thing. And the 3 times we got together in small groups this year, and I got to bring something that I made, this sewing thing is so gratifying. Knitting takes forever. Sewing takes no time at all. It's wonderful. And it probably helps that I have a little bit of a stash of scraps, and I'm loving everything scrappy right now. So that's helping, because I really don't have to spend anything to make things. I just have to dream it up and do it, right? So it's been delightful. Well, speaking of delightful, and all of you are, and I'm so excited that you guys got together for Stitches Midwest. I wish I could have made it. I couldn't make another trip this year. I'm just really stoked that you guys got together. And I don't want to say jealous, because jealous has such a negative connotation to it. I'm just thrilled that you guys got together and got to see each other and shop together and see all your goodies. Oh, goodness. All the goodies. But I got some stuff in the mail from a couple of you ladies, and I wanted to show you guys. At the end of Zombie Knitpocalypse Retreat in June, I might have left my water bottle in a friend's car. I didn't want them to turn around, because I realized it right away. But they had already hit the road, and they were going to be on the road for hours and hours. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to wait it out about an hour and a half, and then I'll tell them that I left a water bottle in their car. So, yeah, that was me. So, Bindu and Annette and I went out to breakfast, just impromptu breakfast. Like, I was all packed up. I was just knitting in the lobby. They came in to say goodbye, and then I said, hey, we're going to go get some breakfast. And I thought, I've got some time to do breakfast. So we went out to breakfast and I left my water bottle in their car. So silly of me. Anyway, Annette was gracious enough to say she'd send it back to me. Thank goodness. Gosh, I love that water bottle. Anyway, but she filled it with a couple of things. And I know that she spun this for me too. Right? Doesn't that look like hand spun? It's purple. Oh my gosh, yes, purple. And Sean's favorite blue. And some white in there too. And I feel like there's a bit of gold or brown down here. And this, I have been using the moment I realized what it was, because I have made this one before, out of my own hand-dyed stuff. It is it's an earbud pouch. Oh my gosh, I love them. And she must have used like worsted weight or something heavier because it's heavy duty. Yeah, it'll keep form of however you fold it. I love it. Anyway, well, I have a shuffle, and it's a waterproof shuffle actually, and I get to stuff that in there, and I use it in my workout bag, which we use almost daily in my household. So mine is purple, and Sean got a blue one, but it's in his bag, and he's not here. He's at work. So yeah, earbud pouch. Love it. I love this pattern. It's super simple. It's almost like a hexie poof for the beekeeper quilts. But then at the top, instead of closing it, you do a little bit of ribbing and bind off. Yeah, it's super genius. I love it. I've done it in fingering weight. This looks more like of a DK or a worsted weight. I love it. I love it a little bit bigger than what I have because I had a hard time stuffing my earbuds in it. In my smaller one, not this one. This one's perfect. So yeah, that lives in my gym bag. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So happy to see that water bottle back. The second thing I received in the mail, did you see that? Knit by Lefty. Yep, I'm a southpaw, guys. Isn't that pin fantastic? So it's an enamel pin. I don't know if you can, maybe I can get it closer. But it says Knit by a Lefty on there. There we go. Knit by a Lefty. Oh, that was awesome. So thank you, Ryan. Received with much love. And I just got a bag from Zombie Knit Apocalypse that will keep this safe. So that's going to go on that. And when I knit with that bag, you will see this again. So thank you so much for the beautiful pieces of mail that I received this past week and the week before. And I just want to say, you guys are fantastic. I see that we already have 6 finished objects in our garment knit along that we're doing this year. So we have a knit along in this group where there's qualifying yarn, there's qualifying designers, and then any garment, big or small, and I mean even ornaments. If you are making your tree fancy with sweaters this year, yeah, include those in our FO thread. It has been just delightful seeing what you guys are up to. And there's been a lot of blue going on. There's a little bit of a theme in our FOs right now. So if you guys have something that can qualify, we would love to see it. We would love to hear the chatter. If you're, getting into a spot, I've gotten into a spot a couple times on my sweater, and that chatter thread has been really delightful just to get a kick in the pants saying, keep going. You can do it. This is what I would do in this situation. So if you have questions or you just want to comment on some people's works, come out to the thread and check it out at Loop in About Podcast. The second knit along that's been going on in this group, and I have neglected to talk about it all that often on this podcast, and that is our sock blank sock along. And there has been a bunch of participants. There's some beautiful sock blanks being used by a number of different dyers. I finished up some gradient socks, There's been a watermelon colorway in there, an alien colorway, a floral colorway. Gosh, go out there and take a look at these things. They are stunning. And what they translate to when they become a sock, I can't even have guessed most of the time. It has been such a fun adventure to do this with you guys. And I have a sock blank that I'm thinking about dyeing. So, for you guys. But I was also thinking, well, I have a botanical kit, so natural dyeing kit, and a blank sock blank. And maybe that should be the prize for the group. So I'm going to reach out to you guys and earburn you guys in the thread and see what you guys would prefer. Prefer somebody else to dye it or have the adventure yourself in a botanical dye kit. So I'm going to put that out there. Now I'm going to be drawing not from FOs. So you didn't need to finish your sock. And I don't think I have explained that yet because I neglect to talk about it. But I'm going to be pulling from the chatter thread. So you've all posted pictures of your sock blank, but I would love to see what your progress is as of right now. And then that'll add a few more opportunities to get a draw with your name on it. So I will send myself that way and make a note of it and see what you guys want as far as prize and as far as what your progress is, because I would love to see how that is translating so far in your sock. I am really enjoying just the learning process in sewing. So far I've been making some steps that are very tangible. And maybe that's what sewing is that you can just increase your skills even by the little bit, gain some confidence, and then try something bigger. Or I'm really enjoying that flourishing learning aspect that I'm getting in sewing right now. With knitting, I'm kind of in a big cabled fit over here, or a really boring stockinette or garter. And I'm just kind of in a weird lull. I'm trying to write a sock pattern, and it's turning out to be harder than I anticipated. And not harder as in technically difficult, as much as in order to write a pattern and not plagiarize somebody, right, you have to be very careful about how you write the verbiage of a pattern, right? So I'm in the middle of that verbiage that I'm really trying to, I think I'm trying too hard to not copy anybody. I'm not copying anybody, right? I'm just sitting down and writing. But if it is the exact verbiage that you've seen in any other pattern, you will be hit with plagiarism. So I'm having, that difficulty of trying too hard to do the simple part. Because we've all made a sock. I really just want to say, hey, so you guys are probably like me, who doesn't really care what the sock pattern is actually written to. You're just using the texture of it, or you're just going to use the motif however you see fit in your sock, right? Like, you're going to use your either toe up or top down, count to whatever you're going to use, and you have a heel that you always use your go-to heel, right? It's just, I kind of just want to give a plug and play little motif. That's not written anywhere, is it? Yeah. So I've been discussing this dilemma with my husband, and he said, well, why don't you just let me edit what you've done, and I'll just rewrite it in my own language. And my language is different from your language. And I said, that's true. So maybe that'll help me finish this pattern, because there is a pattern. I can see why people say, oh yeah, I made this sock, but I'm not going to write it up. Because I'm in that right up part, and I totally get it now. It really isn't that simple. So that's what I'm up to. Yeah, that's been making my knitting stumble, is trying to write this pattern, because I feel obligated and guilty that I haven't written it. Well, I've written half of it, and I shouldn't be knitting on something. I should just finish my pattern. I feel like there's a due date, and maybe there should be a due date. That's how I thrive, is on silly deadlines, even when they're made up deadlines. So I might have to figure out some way to trick myself into finishing it. There's me in a nutshell. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you for letting me catch up on my backlog of stuff. Hopefully I'll have some finished objects. Hopefully I'll remember this guy when I go today. I should just pack that right now. And I'm going to try my first sewing steek, so maybe you will see the finished object out of that. Would I do that again? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see my review of that steek, the 3 steeks I have to do. And I might have to do 6 if I want to get it close to the edge of the shawl. I might have to cut on either side of that steek. I don't know. Tune back in and see what happens next week. I think it's going to be a lot more work than just tucking in some ends. But I'll let you know. So until we knit again, bye.